Mic check. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. I'm back. Back for another episode. I ain't keep you waiting too long, so let me officially introduce the show. Let's go. It's a Taste to Consider podcast. I'm your host, Derek Silver, and we back for another episode, part two of Friend Like Me. Yes, we back. So, I had time, sit with the episode and stuff like that. Shout out to everybody who listened, watched on YouTube. Appreciate that. Before I forget to say it, because I always wait to the end. To support the show, make sure you like, share, download, subscribe, all that good stuff. I appreciate it. So, yeah, I had time to sit with the show and stuff like that. And, of course, I was doing more contemplating about the whole topic, period, and my good friend and stuff like that. And just, thinking about situations I've been in and stuff like that. And I'm sure some of that'll come out in the show, this episode, and I was able to kind of get the outline together for part two, and with me getting that getting that together, it's probably going to be a part three because, like I already said, I'm not trying to go over a certain time anymore. I don't want to be sitting here for over an hour on an episode no more, unless I got guests or something like that. That's totally different. But I've done 2-hour episodes, 2-hour plus episodes by myself, and I'm just not trying to do that no more. At least I ain't gonna say no more. At least not right now. But I'm gonna start off with a show review, and it's actually relevant to the topic. And I'm like, it ain't no coincidence that I watched this show before I did part one, and the show was so good I had to go back and watch it again. And I watched it earlier this week. Before I'm recording right now part two, and watching it a second time, I was like, I really got the point of the show a little bit more and how it's relevant. And I was just like, damn, it ain't no coincidence that I'm seeing this show now, and it kind of relates to the episode and relates to what I've just been thinking about and contemplating on and stuff. So the show is Wonderman. Let me make sure I got my phone on silent and stuff. Excuse me. Burp number one, and I ain't even been drinking. Burp number two. Yeah, so the show is Wonderman. It's the new Marvel show that recently came out. It's on Disney Plus and Hulu. I'm giving them advertisements and shit. But it had 8 episodes, I believe it was. I think it was 8 episodes. Each episode was like 20, 30 minutes at the most. And it wasn't your typical Marvel show. It didn't focus on, the superhero aspect, the power aspect of Wonder Man. And Wonder Man's played by I should have had this ready. Let me see. Let me pull it up real quick. The dude that's playing Wonder Man, his name is Yahya Abdul Mateen II, and he's played in shows like what's the show he played in that was on HBO? Because I really like the movie. It's a comic book show as well, because he's played superheroes in both Marvel and DC. He definitely played in the second Aquaman, and what was that damn show that he played? He played in the recent Candyman that came out. He was in the Aquaman joint. The show on the DC show that was on HBO was called Watchmen. He was on that joint with what's her name? Dang, Regina King. Yeah, Regina King. And what else was he on? He was on the Ambulance joint, the Ambulance movie. That was a good movie. He was on the Resurrections joint, the most recent Matrix joint. Um, he was in Us. He's been in some stuff. He a good actor. He a good actor. Um, and it also starred Ben Kingsley. Ben Kingsley, he been around for a minute. He 82 years old. He played the Mandarin in Iron Man 3. He also played Gandhi. If you if you my age, you know he played Gandhi because that joint came out in '82. I was 81, but I still remember that joint always coming on TV. Ben Kingsley, he is a veteran actor, and the story pretty much centered around them and their relationship. And what I didn't really pay attention the second time, I mean, the first time that I watched Wonder Man was the emphasis on their relationship, their friendship, and how it became to be, and how it benefited Wonder Man in his life and in his career. And just watching it the second time, I paid more attention to their relationship, their friendship, because the Yaya, who played Wonder Man, he was in the show. He was real. I ain't gonna lie. The shit reminded me of me. Like a lot of the stuff that he was going through, how he act and stuff like that, it resonated with me because I saw a lot of myself in the character, the way they portrayed it on the show. Particularly the fact of how I talked about on the first episode, how I got, trust issues. I'm pretty closed off. I can come off a little harsh. I can come off like a asshole sometimes. And my demeanor, my presence may throw off people a little bit. How disciplined and determined he is in the things that he does. Also, how his relationship with his family and how he struggled for a long time with his belonging. How he fit in with his family. How alone he felt in every room that he was in. And it's a really good show. It's so good. I'm going to watch it again. I'm going to watch it again this coming week. I know I am, because I feel like it's lessons in the show that I'm supposed to be seeing or hearing, not only just for this episode, but what I'm going through right now internally with trying to be more of my authentic self, as well as sharing that with the people that's in my life. Stop being so closed off and stuff like that. Trying to break those walls, because it's one thing for me to sit here and to just put everything on the people that I've had relationships with in the past, and I have relationships in the present, or what I could possibly expect in the future with future relationships or and stuff like that. But I've always been a person outside of the things that I've gone through that shaped my way of thinking, to that I I want friendship. I want closeness. I want depth. But then you pile on the things that I've gone through, then that intensifies it, the want of it, but then also pulls me back and guards me from it as well, because of the inconsistencies and the rejections and the abandonments that I've experienced in the past. And it's kind of like it's been a lot of times where I've just been sitting waiting, giving people the benefit of the doubt, but also soon as something triggers me or something is familiar, then I'll put them walls back up, them guards back up, put that armor back on and stuff. But back to the show. The show highlighted specifically how much that friendship was needed for Wonderman and how it elevated him in his life and took him to a new level with his superpowers, with his career, and just himself internally. And I've always looked at it like, despite always wanting to do everything myself and staying to myself and stuff like that, I knew I needed relationships in my life. Not to the point not in a negative way where, I need this to feel better. I need this, but I know I need friendships. I need, intimacy, closeness and stuff. And just to be open, just that have that depth on both sides, feeling comfortable being myself as well as feeling comfortable sharing that with the people who I feel are important in my life. And I struggle with it. I wrestle with it. And it's not that, despite me having good intentions, I'm still doing things that may present themselves as not of good intentions, and it's going to throw people off. I mean, it's just going to throw people off. I mean, I recognize that. I realize that. I've been told that. So, what I'm saying? I get it. And it's something that, I have been working on. But back to the show. It was a specific clip in the show. Like I already said, I felt like in certain moments of the show through the Wonderman character that I was watching myself. And there was this particular scene in the show that I'm going to play the audio of. And I was looking at that joint and listening and saying, I was like, damn, bro, I get it. You know what I'm saying? I totally resonate with what was going on. And it's not even, Wonderman wasn't even in the scene. It was somebody describing his mother was talking about him to Ben Kingsley's character. So let me pull this clip up and play this jump real quick. Let me see. All right. Here we go. All right, let me pull it up. Here we go. All right. I'm still a little rusty. Forgive me. All right, here we go.
I'm glad you're here, Trevor. Simon never brought a friend to meet the family like this. Truthfully, he never really had a friend. Who doesn't ever make a friend?
He's an artiste. A little prickly.
Can I tell you something? When Simon was little, he fell off his bike.
Oh.
He always insisted on riding his father's bike even though he was too small for it. It was a few years after Somford passed. I took him through to the kitchen, I cleaned him up, and he demanded I kiss his knee.
To kiss it better?
Yeah, exactly.
Demanding little chap.
Still is. After I kissed it, as I was putting on the Band-Aid, he looked up and said something he's never said again. Thank you for loving me, Mommy. I thought I'd fall apart right there. I don't know if he meant it the way I took it or if he was just saying something. But all that time, I thought he didn't mind how alone he was. I thought, okay, he has his acting, his Criterion DVD collection, all those movie posters on the wall. Maybe he doesn't feel alone. But he was. And he felt it, even if he didn't say it. Anyway, I'm glad he's got a friend.
So that was the scene right there. And the reason why that scene hit me so much was because, like I already said, I come off as though that I got it all together, that nothing really bothers me. I'm cool being to myself, by myself, and stuff like that, spending a lot of time to myself. But it's a lie. it is not true. You know what I'm saying? From a very young age, I was conditioned to spend time by myself. You know what I'm saying? To feel as though that I had to protect myself and guard myself. And the way of me doing that is by being to myself, being by myself. But it was very lonely. I felt alone a lot, to the point even when I was in the room with my family and other people, I still felt alone. And to have years of that compounding on each other, and being in relationships, friendships, workplace relationships, stuff like that, I was always feeling alone. I feel as though that I can't open up to people because I'm just waiting for certain situations to happen that I was taught to expect. So it was just easier to come off as I'm cool, I'm nonchalant, I'm reserved, I'm fine being in the corner to myself, stuff like that. But it is very lonely. I can tell a million stories about plenty of times I've been in the room with people, no matter what the situation is, and wanting to say certain things and ask certain questions and stuff like that. But the little kid in me is afraid to do that because of what I've experienced. And it became such a habit for me that it, it was just part of my life. You know what I'm saying? It was just easier to is always easier to do the things that you're familiar with or the things that seem safe, but aren't necessarily healthy. And being to myself, being reserved, being nonchalant and stuff like that, and spending a lot of time to myself in my house is familiar for me, is safe for me. Just thinking about it now, and I've thought about it at times before, having conversations in therapy and stuff like that, I've recognized the little boy in me while I've been an adult in these moments where I've been alone, whether it's out in in a group setting or sitting in my basement watching TV or something. And this show was really deep, and that's why I say it's not your ordinary Marvel show. The writing in this show is incredible, and for somebody who likes to write and express their feelings through writing, I feel like this is the best Marvel show I've ever seen. It's a beautiful display of life. um so yeah, if you interested, and you haven't already checked it out, It's not your typical Marvel jump, and it's definitely worth watching. This is definitely a good ass show. It's a very good show. And like I said, I'm gonna watch it again. So there's gonna be 3 times that I went through and binged the whole show. But like I said, the episode's only like 20, 30 minutes at the most. Um, where I'm at, where I'm at. All right. And not for nothing, not you know what I'm saying. I ain't even gonna lie. It's difficult for me to watch that scene, and not get emotional. Like before I sat down to get to start recording for the show, I made you know what I'm saying, I watched the clip again and made sure I had it edited properly from the start point into the end point. And that shit was getting to me. Shit, even playing it right now was getting to me. That's why I'm like, yeah, it's time to move on. I don't think I've had out of the 126 episodes that I've recorded, this being the 126 right here, I probably almost got emotional on on tape and camera. Probably makes the second or third time. And I'm not ready. I ain't gonna say I'm not ready to display that yet on camera. Maybe when I blow up and you know what I'm saying, somebody interviewing me, then I can do it, and play them heartstrings or whatever to get some more listeners and stuff. But dang, I forgot my damn highlighter. All right, where I'm at? Damn, here you go, right here. All right, where I'm at? Wonderman. But okay, now I'm looking at the outline. And one of the other things that stood out on the show for me, and something that I've been writing about and having conversations about with my therapist and stuff like that, and having conversations with myself about, is just showing more of my authenticity to the world, as well as you know my relationships, and honestly myself. I've been so much in a cage mentally and emotionally that I've hid certain talents, gifts, quirks from myself that I don't even fully know or understand. So, yeah. Moving on. Where I'm at. And just to piggyback off of, the conversations I've been having with myself, and the contemplating and all that. One of the things earlier this year, I believe it was around it was definitely in January and around the new moon time, where I decided to go in and do some intention writing and stuff like that. And one of the intentions that I wrote for my friendship section, and just relationship section period, whether that be work relationships, work settings, and stuff like that, or networking, just any type of social settings. One of the intentions that I wrote down was, I attract spaces where my silence is welcome and my voice is celebrated. And I thought that was a good intention for me because, when I've been in a lot of these settings, these social settings, having these relationships and stuff like that, despite how I may come off, a lot of times people do project onto me just because I'm quiet in the moment. I remember one of my past jobs, my project manager every time she used to do my performance evaluation, she will always put this word in there. I come off as aloof. And I'm like, I ain't never heard this word before. So of course I had to go back to what I'm always used to, pick up a dictionary and look it up. But back then it was around internet time, so um, I just looked it up on the internet and learned what the word aloofness means. And I was like, damn, here we go again. I was like, I just can't, you know what I'm saying? I can't just exist without somebody taking it the wrong way or making it out to be a negative. Everything else on the performance evaluation is good. My work, all that, the everything good, but just because I'm not overly social or you know what I'm saying, I just stick more to the professional side of things that you know what I'm saying, I gotta come off negative. And I've heard so many assumptions and about what people think that I'm thinking with me just being quiet or reserved or whatever, that I think I'm better than everybody or um I don't even feel like going through this stuff because it annoys me. But I do feel like a lot of people project onto me with how I come off or whatever. Part of me being reserved is a defense mechanism, but it truly is also part of me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, all this stuff is a part of me. And it was funny because I meant to record this scene so I can play it, and it was from Wonderman as well. Wonderman, he was at a audition for a role, and he was so used to having everything structured and controlling everything, and I definitely understand that because I'm very structured, controlled, disciplined with how I like to do things. And also part of what I've gone through in the past, that's safe for me, you know what I'm saying? So spontaneous stuff and you know, sitting around waiting to see what's going to happen doesn't really work for me all the time. But that part of me as well. Like I'm a walking contradiction. You like if it was a hidden camera up in here and and you could see the things or like a monitor in my mind and you can see the things that I think and the things that I say when I'm around here or even sometimes the things that I write. I'm a walking contradiction. I say I want this, but then I also, you know what I'm saying, tug I'm living a real life tug of war. But the scene, you know, he was getting all discombobulated because he wasn't in control of his environment. So he was messing up the audition when he was a favorite for it. So Ben Kingsley came out there because he was part of the audition as well. They are both actors. And he basically said to, I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't remember verbatim. And this is where his friendship with Ben Kingsley elevated him. You know, the support, you know, the consistency of his friendship elevated him. And he basically said to him, you know, you got to let go. You got to let go. And everything that has happened to you in your life is you. It's part of you. Is beauty in that. And you have to take all of that and channel it in your life to present yourself to the whole world. You trying to be all in control of everything looks good on the outside, but it doesn't connect all the time, most of the time. And he was telling him, be your authentic self, the flaws and all, the everything. Just let it all out. And you'll find your people. you'll be able to connect. Even if people don't understand it, they'll respect it. So I definitely took that to heart because that's something that I've heard before in therapy. That's something that I've had to tell myself plenty of times. I tell myself all the time. But and I know it, and that's the crazy thing about it. You know, a lot of times I think we know, and just speaking for myself, one of the things I've heard a lot from my therapist, the every therapist that I've had always say you're very self-aware. I'm very self-aware of what I need to do, what's going on with me, the challenges that I keep continue facing, the cycles and stuff, why they keep happening and all that other stuff. But I'm still afraid. I'm still holding back. I'm still, just standing in my way. And I'll I have evidence of fully being authentic, how it works, how it works and how it will help me. But there's also a what if to that. But the other side, when I'm used to the holding back, armor, all that other stuff, that's more familiar, is safer because I know what to expect with that. Burp number 3 and 4. So, yeah. That was another great scene on the show and definitely something that resonated with me. And I was just like, damn, that's shit. You know what I'm saying? God, yeah, you're talking to me, universe, you're talking to me, whatever you believe in. Damn. But let me bring this up real quick before I move on to this other clip. I definitely recognize when I've been in certain group settings, particularly group settings where I'm working with people, whether it be friends or at work, and just in general. One of the things that I know is I don't know if the word is a flaw, because I'm trying to learn how to reframe certain words and phrases that are used a lot by people in society, because I feel like just clinging to those things is not really holding yourself accountable, as well as being able to hold somebody else accountable, because we so used to hearing these words and these phrases, flaws, and what I'm saying, these cliche terms and stuff, that it's just brushing off our shoulders because it's talked about so much. So I don't want to say I'm reframing the term flaw. I'm gonna say my my defense mechanisms. What was the other term? What was the other term that I was using to reframe flaws? Because once you hear that term flaw, you just automatically think negative. And I don't, even though defense mechanisms and stuff like that are unhealthy, I don't think we should be using it as negative or bad, because everybody has some sort of defense mechanism, or what is that other term? It's pretty much similar to defense mechanism. I can't think of it right now. But everybody has gone through something, and we all got our armor up in some type of way. We all got fears and anxieties and stuff where, we're guarded. That's not the other word, but that word fits as well. We're guarded, and being guarded and having those defense mechanisms and stuff shouldn't be looked at as a negative or bad thing. I know that's how society wants to make it. not, and it can be negative and bad depending on the context of it. But I feel like just coming from a mental health aspect, that we should be looking at it more as just, a reframing of trauma response, or yeah. I think I I only started trying to flesh the idea and the thought out earlier today, because I go through, I record my podcast in my mind before I actually sit down, and I hate when I forget stuff that I've already I've already put together. But I think I gotta stop being so structured and just letting things flow the way they flow. And that's why I try to take little notes or whatever. But back to what I was talking about, being in these group settings and working with people and stuff like that. And particularly, I'll be very specific right now. I'll be very specific. When doing the group podcast, the Unproductive and Unapologetic podcast, you podcast, shout out to them. I had, after we stopped recording together, I had to really look back, and I do this a lot because I'm so focused on me. What did I do wrong in situations because of how I grew up and stuff like that? So, just analyzing my role in the podcast and stuff like that. And this is something that I do. I found myself doing a lot in group settings where I'm working with people. I get frustrated with other people not having the same motivation or drive and determination that I have, because I really loved doing the You and You podcast. And I felt like we were all talented and we had something special. And and even just like comparing it, because at the time, um it was around the time where the Joe Budden podcast was like really starting to pop off, and I was like, man, we just as good as them, honestly. Like the personalities that we had, the talent and stuff, like we we had something special, and everybody is not the same. I had to drill that into my head, and like even before doing the podcast, I understood all this, because this, like I said, this is something that I've struggled with before. You know what I'm saying? Working with people, but and I wish I was a little bit more self aware in the moment of my energy and how I was coming off with, you know getting frustrated and stuff with not with everybody, and it wasn't everybody that didn't have the same drive and passion and stuff. It was, what I'm saying, it was just everybody's passion and drive and motivation and determination was just different. It wasn't that mine was good and theirs was bad. It was just different. And that's something that I've been trying to, be more self-aware of, period. That, because we're so wired to look at things in a black and white state. And it, I try to tell myself a lot when I get into these type of situations, it's not good or bad. It's just different. It's just different. And I know my energy came off really bad, and I probably messed up. That energy probably messed up certain, rubbed people the wrong way, and messed up the collective energy in the room at times and stuff like that. And looking back, like before I started, what I'm saying, really understanding this, being younger before the podcast, and being in other situations where working with people and being frustrated and stuff, I was even more brash at a younger age, when I was much more angrier and I wasn't going to therapy and I wasn't, learning how to calm myself down and stuff like that. But that person still comes out at times. That's why I said on one of the most recent episodes, I was like, you know what I'm saying, we don't never get rid of the stuff that we deal with. We just elevate above it because it does, you know what I'm saying, it does come back at times, and you know what I'm saying, we'll have moments where we might fall short, and we have other times where we recognize, we like, damn, you know what I'm saying, he almost came out or something like that. But yeah, I definitely recognize my role in that was a role that I played in a negative way, in a negative sense, um, with the group podcast, and I had the question, like, I knew it wasn't, you know what I'm saying, like, did it totally like ruin everything? But I know it definitely, you know what I'm saying, played a part in it, you know. Who wants to work with somebody like that? And me saying that right now, that's funny because that's the same shit that happened in Wonderman. I'm telling y'all, watch this show, man. This show deep. But yeah, who wants to work with somebody who's like that? And that's how that nigga in Wonderman was coming off at times. And he had good intentions, but nah, it good intentions and being a good friend or being a good co-worker or being a good colleague or being a good husband, being a good boyfriend, being a good wife, being a good girlfriend do not run parallel. Good intentions and being a good person do not run parallel. You can have the best intentions in the world, but you're dealing with a person that is different than you. So those good intentions may not come off right. So you have to be aware of the fact that the other person's feelings matter, because them good intentions was coming from you, but how the person is receiving it may be totally different. So good intentions and being a good person do not run parallel. They just don't. Oh man, where my time at? I ain't even been paying attention. Damn, I'm coming up on the time. Yeah, it's definitely gonna be a part 3. So let me let me play this clip, and then I'm gonna end this episode off and just complete the rest on the outline for part 3. So let me go ahead and cue this clip up. One of the things with getting clips from TikTok and Twitter, just social media period, once you pull them Jones up, they just start playing and stuff. That's why I got to get back. I'm still rusty. I got to get back in my mode of screen recording clips and stuff like that so I can control how they come off and stuff.
I don't have expectations of anyone is secretly one of the laziest statements and practices that some people use in their interpersonal relationships, because it never allows them to really be accountable. Okay? And while it's postured as being emotionally enlightened or the person without needs or really evolved, is actually showcasing a certain level of avoidance of emotional regulation, avoidance of personal responsibility in terms of how we are treating other people, compartmentalization, the use of discernment, and the inconvenience of not showing up in every space with the same level of carelessness because of what somebody else has done. Okay, we got to shift gears sometimes, and we may not always like that. So a lot of times you'll hear people say, well, yeah, I don't have expectations of anyone because everybody else has always let me down. And what that means is they go through the world looking through the same lens, which means that they are treating everybody with the same level of effort. And then they can always self-soothe and feel comfortable in their own dysfunctional narrative, right? So let's say a person who is taking initiative, who is showing up, who is being considerate, who is being intentional. Now they're labeled as intense, high maintenance, creepy, and or desperate, or needy. Meanwhile, the person who has been hot and cold, we devote ourselves to because we are seeking to earn their love or validation. And this applies to any relationship. And then we create a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? We were giving this person half effort, then they stop showing up. And then we say, well, see, everybody always leaves. This is why I don't have expectations of anyone. Versus saying, hey, how was I treating this person? Okay, was I treating them with the same level of care that they were showing up with? Was I being what I seek in the world? Sometimes we got to stop getting mad when we give people the scissors and they're better at cutting than we are. Because other people have come from their own trials and tribulations, but they're making sure to not bleed out on other people. They're making sure not to be another person that somebody else has to heal from. And sometimes we sit in our own comfort thinking that people always have to go the extra mile for us because of what we've been through. See, the thing about it is our previous experiences are an explanation for who we are today. They're not an excuse. And if we never feel that we ourselves have to take risks, have to be vulnerable, have to take some kind of initiative, have to be considerate of other people's feelings outside of our own convenience, then the world will always reflect back mirrors in terms of the effort that we show up with. So, if you never think that you have to show up, people will stop showing up inevitably. Because some people will realize the risk is not worth the cost. It's just information.
I hope that was a gut punch for your ass like it was a gut punch for me. As if I didn't already know it, though. I mean, I've been on both sides of what he was speaking of. I've been the one who, I just already talked about it in the episode, because of always expecting what I've received in the past coming from my childhood. That's how I look at it. And as soon as I get that trigger or that same experience, then I'm out, or I guard up. And I've been on the other side where, what I'm saying, I've heard it plenty of times from guys I'm cool with. I don't have no expectations for y'all. I don't have no expectations. I know y'all, we always say that. I know you got lives and other stuff like that, but we supposed to be friends, and we supposed to be intentional about the friendship. We supposed to be giving some type of energy towards it. And that goes for me as it does for the people that I'm having friendships with or any type of relationship with. I found myself, even despite the fact that I was so guarded up and looking for expectations, that I was still getting half-ass effort from people that I was giving my all to. It's funny. That's why I said I'm a walking contradiction, because I have certain relationships, or I've had certain relationships where I was giving all over effort and not getting nothing in return or the reciprocation of it. And then there's some relationships that I had or have that I was the total opposite. And it took a while for me to understand why there was a difference. I figured it out by going through therapy, and it's because of who those people were, how they represented themselves, and how it ran parallel with the people that I first experienced it from, and how similar those people were, or how it came off that way, if that makes sense to you. So person A from the present or the not so long ago past was similar to person A from the starting point, and person B from the present or not so long ago past was similar to person B from my childhood. So you should get that. I know y'all smart enough. That's why y'all already here having a taste, considering my taste. I kind of hesitated when I say that because that might come off a little different. Because I know some of y'all are very immature with this pause stuff. But that's it for this episode. I'm gonna be back for part 3. I'm gonna tighten it up a little bit more, get my juices back together, get back into my podding mode, and get everything down packed. So I can be a little bit more structured, which I shouldn't even be saying after I said I'm trying to be more authentic, and y'all get it. But this has been a Taste to Consider podcast. I'm your host, Derek Silver, and I am out.